wake up in the morning, feel the sun on my face. I'd invite it's a brand new day. Ooh, yeah. From Africa to the Caribbean, the news unfold. Stories of freedom and stories untold. In the motherland.
Hello, welcome to Kush News, the newscast of the African diaspora. I'm your anchor, Ochanda, daily bringing you the top stories from Africa and the Caribbean. Let's take a look at today's news on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. We go to West Africa, where ECOWAS is monitoring Togolese politics. Leaders from the West African regional bloc known as ECOWAS have retracted on their initial announcement that they were visiting Togo due to the seriousness of constitutional reforms. Those words were part of a press release that was published on social media on Monday and then deleted on Tuesday. It was replaced by a new press release that instead called it a quote-unquote information mission and insisted that ECOWAS would not quote-unquote engage in any other activities. The opposition in Togo has denounced a new proposed constitution as an intentional move to extend the rule of the current president. The reforms would see the West African country move from a presidential to a parliamentary system. ECOWAS has been dealing with military juntas and African presidents struggling for power. This would add to the further headaches. Those in West Africa, let us know your thoughts on ECOWAS making a statement and then backtracking. What do you think about that? Let's go to the Caribbean and end it there. We go to Guyana, where they push for another decade for people of African descent. Guyana has joined the call for the United Nations to proclaim a second international decade for people of African descent. Guyana's position on the matter was delivered today by the Minister of Tourism for the country. The minister said Guyana's position is in line with its neighbors in the Caribbean, who have been at the forefront in the fight for reparations for the descendants of enslaved Africans.
We are honored to be part of this gathering to collectively address issues relating to improving the safety and quality of life and livelihoods of people of African descent. I'm pleased to extend congratulations to Dr. June Summer, a distinguished daughter of the Caribbean community, and we thank for the assumption of the chair, and we thank Ms. Epsy Campbell Barr of Costa Rica for her stewardship over the forum. Guyana, as a multicultural and multi-ethnic society, is mindful and keen to ensure that our population in its entirety enjoys the best quality of life our country can afford. In that regard, we are mindful of the mandate of this permanent forum as set forth in the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 75 of 2014. Chair, we know that the panels in this session of the forum will address the issues of reparations, sustainable development, and economic justice, education, overcoming systemic racism and historic harm, and cultural recognition. We also note that the CARICOM has been in the forefront of demanding reparations for the descendants of enslaved Africans. Guyana is fully committed to the CARICOM position, and His Excellency President Irfan Ali is on record of having added his voice to the call of the need for reparations.
She added that the Guyanese government is mindful of the country's multiracial landscape and will work to ensure all citizens get an equal share of opportunities. The United Nations General Assembly declared January 2015 all the way to December 2024 as the decade for international people of African descent. The decade recognizes that people of African descent represent a distinct group whose human rights must be promoted and protected. Activists have been pushing for an extension of the decade to continue the global momentum on efforts fighting against racism and discrimination. Those in Guyana, let us know on if you are an Afro-Guyanese. Let us know on if you felt that this decade that you've been living through had any significance in your everyday life. Also, here at Kush News, we were not necessarily aware of how big of a momentum that it had, especially in the United Nations. Good job. Let's go to Grenada, where a statue of a revolutionary is set to be built. Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, said that the government will be working along with a Cuban foundation for a sculptured bust of former Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and other people who were killed back on October 19th, 1983. Prime Minister Mitchell, who had returned from an official visit to Cuba, said the plans for the bust to be unveiled will be part of the activities to commemorate National Heroes Day on October 19th. Grenada observed National Heroes Day for the first time last October, coinciding with the 50th anniversary of the assassination of the former prime minister. Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, who along with his cabinet members were killed during a coup back in 1983. The prime minister told a news conference that while in Havana, he held discussions with the son of the sculptor who designed the bust and that a partnership had been established. Those in Grenada. Let us know your thoughts on your guys' former prime minister getting his own bust. That's pretty awesome. Maybe at Kush News, maybe they'll make a bust out of somebody, maybe a senior anchor. When we come back, we'll have today's African proverb of the day. Don't go anywhere.
Right. Especially, and I'm going to use, since we both have podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Stuff on YouTube. When they see us, like with Ochanda in this nice shirt on today. Right?
Both of you.
Yeah, and
He's got a peanut butter leather jacket. Come on, guys.
I love it.
shout out to all my Equatorian peanut butter eaters.
I love it. Represent.
Shout out to all South Sudanese. But yeah, like when you have
When they would put on Congolese music videos in the 90s,
Oh.
nobody's
till
starving
today.
in these music videos. In fact, people are rolling in the best Lexus, best Range Rover. especially-
Mercedes.
Kofi is like dipped and draped, right?
Fashions from Paris.
But I'm saying Africa because there's African dancers. So I'm thinking this is
Neti neti te, yemeya, mukolo bilanga. Si c'est vrai, obonge salarié.
on black tax.
All
We know
right.
you're not sending money back home. But still, just
no,
tell-
not at all.
Yeah.
And my message for the African diaspora:
Not at all.
don't send money back home. So there's a few things why. Number one, get the voices out of your head. Usually when you're sending money back home, it's because your mom's voice, your dad's voice, your uncle with the wooden leg, your aunt with the glass eye, your cousin with the arm growing out of their forehead. They're telling you to send money back home because somebody got sick or somebody was in an accident. Why were they riding a motorcycle without a helmet? Like that, like just like
First of all, that's not a regulation.
yeah, but now they're hurt, and now you that are working at Kinko's part time is responsible for
Chico's
that
is
medical
not even
bill.
in business anymore.
Well,
Hey, I
wherever.
digress.
So you're not working.
Wherever, so you're not. So you're getting an unemployment check, and you're having to send that Western Union
Imagine,
and send
yeah.
wave.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at today's African proverb of the day, and it comes to us from the Jalur. What's going on? I think I'm pretty familiar with you guys, huh? Samaki peoples, right? Huh? And it reads, an undecided man is the worst disaster of the village. Once again, an undecided man is the worst disaster of the village. Little proverb. Yes. How you youngins say you gotta stand on business? You gotta stand on business. He ain't standing on business. Meaning that like whatever you say or whatever you intend to do, you have to remain with that. And that's the great part about being a man. Let's say like you say that I will never live in an apartment. And then you make sure that you never live in an apartment. I mean, you could be homeless, but as long as you never live in an apartment, I will live in a house. I will build a house. I'll live in my car, but I'll never live in an apartment. Or like, let's say, I will never marry a woman that is under 5'7", right? And then you just always stick with women that are much taller, much more taller. It's about saying what you mean and meaning what you say. And that's the awesome part about being a man, guys. You can take this for whatever it is. Let me know your interpretation of today's African proverb of the day, as well as your thoughts, views, questions, comments, and concerns on the top stories. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make it your best friend. For Kush News on Kush Convos TV, I'm Ochanda. We'll see you soon.
Wake up in the morning, feel the sun on my face. Island vibes, it's a brand new day. Ooh, yeah. From Africa to the Caribbean, the news unfold. Stories of